Guys, so we're going to do a clipping mask today. Clipping masks are a way to say take the outline of something and put an image behind it. So we're going to, I'm going to do ocean life perhaps. And I did this for you in class on Friday, but I would like to give you a video to watch that's going to hopefully clarify anything that you might not have gotten in class. So we're going to start with create new, which is typically how we start every new document. We generally use the print preset because we're always going to get a 300 ppi with that. Landscape is going to work for this. We're going to name it. I'll name this Mrs. C clipping mask text, and I'm clarifying text because we're going to be doing other types of clipping masks. And I'm going to call this version 6 because I've done a couple in class. I've just done various samples of this, so this will help me keep them kind of separated. So I think I'm ready. 8.5 by 11, landscape 300, RGB is fine. If we were printing this, I would change this to CMYK, but since at the moment we're not actually printing, RGB is going to be fine, and we'll keep the title. So I start out with a blank document, and the first thing I'm going to teach you to do, well, the first thing we're going to do, because this is always a good habit to get into, is to go to Window, is to go to Workspace, is to go to Reset Essentials, and then this last panel here, we just delete. And so now I'm starting with a brand new screen, as if, you know, I'm coming into this for the first time. And sometimes we want to do that because Photoshop does remember what we did the last time we were using Photoshop, and what you're doing this time might not be anything like what you did last time. So we've just cleared the screen. All right, so I'm going to teach you to do one thing first that deals with preferences. Since we're going to be using this type tool today, typically, let me show you what happens if I use the type tool. I have reset this. I've typically have already fixed my preferences. But if I reset this, you're going to notice, let me check this so that you can see what I have here. You're going to notice that there's some lettering here, okay? And it just looks like gibberish. It's called Placeholder Text, and it automatically fills in because Photoshop thinks that we're going to be maybe putting an article in here or something, and so it wants to place text in there for us to sort of help us know where things are going to be. Well, because we're not going to be using text in that manner, we're rarely going to need, and let me pull up on my screen a little bit here so you can see the bottom. Since we're probably never going to need placeholder text, I'm going to change my preferences so that I never have to see that again. So I'm going to go to Photoshop, I'm going to go to Preferences, I'm going to slide over, go down to Type, and then I'm going to uncheck Fill New Type Layers with Placeholder Text because I don't want to see that anymore. I would like to just have an empty box ready for me to type in whatever I want, and then I don't have to bother erasing the placeholder text that's already in there. So just uncheck that last option, all right? And then click OK. So now I'm going to have a much different experience. When I click the type tool, I'll make myself a big box because I want this text to possibly take up this whole document. And you can see that my text is ready to go. That little line there tells me where the text is going to begin. You can see at the top here that it's centered, which is perfect. That's exactly the way I want it. I wouldn't have it left justified or right justified because we do want this to sort of spread out over the entirety of this document. So I'm going to start out by typing ocean, and maybe I want it to say ocean life. Now, right now you see these words are very far apart, and there's a reason that they're this far apart, and that's because I've adjusted my settings in the past, and it's adhering to settings that I've set previously. So typically my letters would not be that far apart. But you're going to see what we're about to do, because clearly this is too small for what we are wanting to accomplish here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to highlight all of this, and there we go. So now I've got ocean life highlighted, the whole thing, and I can tell because it's covered in black. And my text was black, which was good, black on white. If for some reason you don't see your text, make sure this isn't white, because it could be that you're typing, and if white has been selected as the foreground color, white on white is not visible. So that's why you're not seeing your text. So start by highlighting your text, and let's enlarge. So enlarging can happen in a couple of ways. You could go over here and just say choose 72 points, okay? That's still not going to be large enough, but I was able to just quickly select 72 points for that. But what if you really want to enlarge it, but you want to watch how it enlarges for you? Well, right below the T in your character menu here, there's an arrow, and you only notice it if you hover your hand right under that T. So as I drag to the right and just kind of stop every once in a while to see where it is, I can see that these letters are getting bigger. Okay, and that's probably not a bad size, so I'll stop right there for the moment. Doesn't mean I won't adjust this, because I honestly haven't selected my font yet. It's set on Arial, and I might not like Arial. So let's see what options I have. You saw that I had Zapfino before. Well, I could use Zapfino. I would certainly have to make it a lot smaller if I was going to use Zapfino. But there are so many options in terms of how you could possibly go about doing this. This is an interesting letter style to me, the Snell round hand. Only problem is it doesn't work with all caps. So if I retype this, and it may not, actually it doesn't give me that option. So since it doesn't give me that option, it only wants to do, oops, yeah, it only gives me all right, so I'll try this again. Oops. And the N is probably there, it's just that I can't see it because of the size. But I'm going to keep scrolling for a different letter. I was hoping that that would not be an all caps letter style, but clearly it is. So this Skia I've used before, and I actually kind of like it. Let me see if I can't make this easier for you all to see. Okay, so I should be able to just scroll and check out different letter styles. This one, Impact, could be actually a good style, and it looks like I am missing the N there. Now when I look at this, there's clearly some things going on with it. I've got it set at the 185 or at the 180. I can make these letters further apart. They don't have to be so close to each other. Right now, they're very close to each other in terms of being right on top of each other. So if I increase this, this will also change how much space is between them. And if I wanted there to be more space between them, I could easily make this box bigger. And if I make this box bigger, these letters could be even further apart if that's what I wanted to do. I'm kind of looking at this and trying to decide if I like this. This will certainly be a great font to use in terms of putting a picture behind it, because you're going to see the picture very easily. Now I've just opened up my character panel here because sometimes the character panel shows me things that I don't see when it's over here. So right here I can see that bold is selected, and that's why those letters seem so thick, and I'm not quite sure I like them that thick. I don't think I like them italicized. This kind of changes whether I have lowercase or uppercase. I'll go back to the uppercase, and actually with that last one I should have checked this because it might have been checked, and that might have been the reason why I wasn't getting the lowercase letters like I wanted to get. But I'm going to go with this because I think this is going to show up well. I could, nope, I can't. So impact, I can make bold if I choose this, but I'm not quite sure I like it that bold. So I'm just going to click the check mark, and I'll get rid of this panel. So my lettering is ready to go, and so what I'll do next is I will bring in the picture that will end up covering these letters. So to do that, I will go up to File, and I will click Place Linked. And what that's going to do is that's going to turn my photograph that I will bring in. And I'm not sure what photograph do I want to use. I know I've used a couple of different photographs in the past. I kind of liked the turtle. I know that my screen is not showing the place, so let me stretch this out so that we see that better. Okay, it's not going to show you my place, but I clicked place, and so now you see the blue X going through it. You see the bounding box. While you still have this bounding box and this all around, this is the best time to enlarge your picture. You can certainly enlarge it later by going to Edit, Transform, and Scale, but it's much easier to do it now before you lock this in. Once I feel like this is large enough, I can now click the check mark. And so what you see has happened here, this photo, do you see that little symbol right there? If I hover over it, it says Smart Object Thumbnail. So what that means is now this photo knows that it is working in conjunction with this. So these two items are working together, okay? So how do I make this picture now become my words, Ocean Life? It's very simple. I go up to Layer, and I go down to Create Clipping Mask, and now my picture has become the background. Okay, now I could move this picture around by simply clicking on the picture and moving this around, but there's a reason I'm not going to do that, and that's because, well, actually I'll do it because I'm going to have to probably adjust things anyway. So let's just say I go with this. You can see the turtle kind of behind there a little bit. If I want to move the words themselves, click on the words, and it does like to shoot back to the picture. Okay, I'll get back to that. All right, so I've got the turtle here. I'm now going to go to Place Embedded, and I'm going to use the same picture. So I'll look for that turtle picture again, and I'm clicking Place, which is down here at the bottom, and I know it's not within your screen, but it is there. So I'll stretch this out. You notice it's on top of the words. Well, that's not going to be a good place for it to be. It really needs to be under the words. So I just left click and drag it. So now it's under the words. And you can even see where these two images sort of don't kind of line up. So interestingly, I think I'll just sort of line them up a little bit. I want them to kind of really look like they're all one. So now these two images are very close to being exact. And the reason I wanted them to be exact is because I'm going to take this background photo and I'm simply going to lower the opacity for it. And so now with the opacity lowered on it, the word itself is now visible. And I could, if I wanted to, I could look at some of my blend modes here and see what happens if I play with the blend modes. With some of them, it doesn't do anything, so I don't necessarily want to use some of these, but some are interesting. So you might be interested in using a blend mode for this. That's kind of an interesting look. Normal, of course, just looks like that. But another option, of course, is to say use a new layer adjustment like we did before. So if I went to new layer adjustment and I decided that I was going to change the complete coloring of maybe the background picture, that might be an interesting way to differentiate the lettering from the image. Same image, but just completely different use of color. And of course, we're getting close now to where it started. I'm not sure if I like any of these, but I do like experimenting. So perhaps I think I'll just keep it. I'll keep it as it was. And of course, the best way to make sure that there were no changes is to just throw away that adjustment later. So I just threw that in the trash can. Okay, last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my words, ocean life. Now this I definitely want to do. I want to go to the FX here. That stands for effects, but these are also considered layer styles. Pick any one. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Start with bevel and emboss. As soon as you pick one, this layer style menu is going to open up, and you'll start to see what happens when you experiment with some of these layer styles. Now each layer style has its own menu. For instance, this is an inner bevel. You can do an emboss, you can do a pillow emboss, you can do a stroke emboss. There's different ways for these to show up. The stroke emboss is not that noticeable, so say I go with the inner bevel. Minor changes when I select technique. The depth can be adjusted. You probably see subtle changes happening to the letters as I adjust these handles. The size can increase. Okay, now it really looks embeveled or beveled. Soften it. Might want to increase highlights. Right now the highlight mode is set on black. I might want to change that to white, because that would probably make more sense to have some whites in there. Okay, if I like this, I can keep it. If I don't like this, I can just uncheck it. That's what's kind of cool about using these layer styles. Outer glow is always kind of a fun one to use. I prefer white when I'm using an outer glow. But again, you can adjust. You can even adjust the angle of them, so you can use this to adjust the angle of how things look. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're starting to see what happens when you add the outer glow. So these are just little things you could do to make your letters stand out, be different. If you like something like that, go with it. You can use 2 different pictures. You don't have to use the same picture, but I just wanted to show you that it is possible to do this using just 1 picture. So it's not necessary to have 2 pictures for this. But you can, like I said, play with some of these effects. There's lots to choose from. And the best thing is when you don't like it, you just uncheck it and you don't have to use it. So go ahead and see what you can do with that, and then we'll move on to our next clipping mask. All right, have a great day, guys.